organization. But the nice thing about that October meeting with Rosen is at his place is that we got to meet each other. We made contacts that we had not made before, and in Hayworth, Illinois, in December, and really put this organization together. Really make sure that it made some sense. So I started working on the bylaws, and at the same time, I knew we needed a chapter in Springfield, so I contacted people here that might have been involved in starting it, and they said, "Oh no, George, you go ahead. I don't want to do the work." And so I started the chapter here in Springfield because I wanted that chapter to be one of the founding chapters of the organization. And then in December, a Beta of Illinois was formed up in Hayworth, Illinois. Now, what I'm trying to emphasize is that it can be done. We had a bunch of bikers that didn't know each other. A lot of these people were from clubs that really didn't have any high regard for each other, and they understood that we had to get our act together, and we had to be just as serious about this as we would be about a flat tire. That because either way, whether you got a flat tire on your bike or whether you got oppressive motorcycling laws crushing you, either way, you're not going to ride. And we were determined that we were going to ride. I mean, there's issues that came up, like we had one guy that was very outspoken, and he was, had some real strong racial bigotry issues, and he said, "Hey, if we open this thing up to all races, he doesn't want anything to do with it. He'll move to another state." And basically, we told him, "Well, have a nice trip. There's no way in the world that this thing is going to be focused on a certain kind of motorcycle or a certain kind of individual. This has to do with all motorcycles and all people." And that makes an organization a lot stronger when you make it clear that the only agenda you have is this precise thing called motorcycling rights. And that first year, this new fledgling organization stopped this horrific juggernaut of pressure from not only the people in the state of Illinois in the General Assembly, but also from the federal government in Washington, D.C., to have a helmet law in Illinois. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that it's possible. It is possible for responsible citizens to gather and make a difference, to bend the will of this huge government to the demands of the people. And I think that we've proved that can be done. And that what I'm talking about happened many years ago. What is that, 29 years ago, 86 to 2015? So that if it happened then, it certainly can happen now. And the important thing is, just because it happened once doesn't mean our job is done. Because the people that would take away your rights are always going to be there. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And that means that you've got to be willing to fight the battle as long as you're able. And that you have to find replacements for you to take on the battle when you're gone. Because you don't want to be just a footnote in history where people say, well, they did this wonderful, bold thing, but it burned out, and it's too bad. But there used to be a time when men were free and you could ride your motorcycle without government restrictions, but that doesn't exist anymore. They were just silly for thinking that could happen forever. You don't want people to say that. You want people to say, hey, these people fought the battle when it needed to be fought, and it's our turn to fight it now because it still needs to be fought. And it's altogether possible. It doesn't take all of your time, all of your energy, all of your money, but it does take some of your time, some of your energy, and some of your money. If all you can do is join an organization, and it has to be a good organization, it has to be something where people will roll up their sleeves and will do the work. I was at a Federation of Clubs organizational meeting many years ago. I represented the Springfield Milers BMW Club at that meeting. And it was a very cold March night. I was the only person that showed up on a motorcycle. And the person from California that was calling the meeting, and there's, in my mind, no question, but the reason he was there is trying to create a better organized feeding system for his, he was from a law firm in L.A., a feeding system for his personal injury referral business. I like the idea of Federation of Clubs, love the idea, but he kept talking about how this Federation of Clubs was going to interact with government and going to accomplish these things. And when he asked if there was any questions, I simply asked, well, are we going to, what you're talking about, is that going to be doing something different than ABATE is doing? Or is ABATE not doing its job? Are we going to have two motorcycle rights organizations instead of one? Is that better than just having one strong organization? And he was taken aback by those questions. He says, he asked for my name. When I told him my name, he said, oh, because he knew me. He should know me. His father tried to get me to run their business in Illinois back in '87, and I turned him down. And the reason I did is because, first of all, I had a job. I worked for Department of Transportation. I was paying my bills and making my mortgage payments and keeping food on the table, so money wasn't the issue. But my freedom was. My freedom to make choices was. And I didn't think I'd have much credibility working to create this organization if I was on somebody's payroll to represent them first. Well, anyway, the reason I mentioned that this is something you got to be aware of, I like the Coalition of Clubs idea, but don't count on something like that to run the show, to do everything that you need to have done. When I started out on this, I thought the Coalition of Clubs was a better idea than ABATE. And I found out that a membership organization is a lot stronger, because if you're a member, then you have a personal interest. You're personally vested in what's going on. If you're just a member of a club, that sounds bad, just a member. If you're a member of a club whose focus is elsewhere and the club is a member of the organization, you're kind of like one step removed from what's really happening. It's kind of hard for you to take personal involvement in what's happening. So I urge people to join something that really will get in there and do the job. ABATE of Illinois is the best bet. I know I'm doing a lot of preaching here. It's the best bet, and if you find that an organization like ABATE doesn't meet your needs, hopefully that organization is a membership organization. ABATE of Illinois is. This lawyer in L.A. that wanted me to represent him in Illinois back in '86, met with him and Doug Killer, Dave White, in Colorado. And that's where Dave White started the ABATE of Chicago, was instrumental in helping a lot of other chapters start. We recognize him today with the Dave White Memorial Run on our state party. Great person, and now deceased. When we met each other basically for the first time when we sat down, had a drink, and the L.A. lawyer says, now here's how you got to do it in Illinois. You can't trust bikers to make their own decisions because they can't get along with each other and they can't think straight. You got to be there in charge. You got to run the show for them. And we both said, no, not in Illinois. In Illinois, the members run the organization. They may make mistakes, but it'll be their mistakes and it'll make for a stronger organization. And that's the way I still think that's the way to go. And my point is, if you don't like the way the organization's going, you've got a voice. You can stand up on your hind legs and say, listen, here's a better way to approach this. Let's do it this way. And if somebody is really fouling up in their job, you can do what I did a few years ago. I didn't like the way the person was handling their job. I threw my hat in the ring and ran against the person. Well, it so happened that I won. I didn't really want the job because I knew how much work it was, but I thought it was important to have that job handled in a different way. I mean, that was my call. That's what you do in a membership organization. That's one of the reasons that a Bay of Illinois is effective, is because it allows that sort of thing to happen. So anyway, when you make your decisions on what needs to be done, find like-minded individuals. Work together. Try to find the highest quality professionals you can, or skilled individuals that you can to work on these things. And we were fortunate in Illinois. We had some top-notch individuals that helped form this thing, and even our bylaw purposes talk about that our job is to interact with government. We're not just lobbyists. We just don't go for the legislative people. We go for the executive branch. There's 3 branches of government: executive, judicial, and legislative. So hook up with an organization that recognizes how government works, that you've got to be involved with every branch of government. If you just worry about legislative, then the courts can come along and neuter you. And or you can have regulations created by the governor's office, and and you're still in a bad shape if that happens. And deal with an organization that will interact with government at every single level. The thing that got me involved, well, the thing that stirred me up, of course, is getting arrested for riding without a helmet in '68. But the thing that really got me involved in motorcycle rights was 1984. I think it was April of '84. 31 years ago. My club, the BMW Milers Motorcycle Club, decided that they would try to change the Park District's ordinance outlawing motorcycles on public highways under the jurisdiction of the Park District. So that was only 30-some miles of road. But still, to be outlawed from riding a motorcycle on a public highway? Come on, there's nothing more important to motorcycling than the right to ride a motorcycle. And when we got involved in that, we found that the Riverton Harley riders were also involved. They showed up the same night we did at the Springfield Park District board meeting. And at the same night, the United Motorcyclists Illinois, a statewide organization, now defunct, also showed up. And we got our heads together. We created a Right to Ride coalition. And we could not change the park board's mind. I offered to represent any biker that was arrested for violating that ordinance for free, and I was taken up on it. We lost in the trial court, which is nobody's surprise, but we took it to the appellate court, and for the first time in history, a motorcycle park ban was overturned by an appellate court, and it happened right here in Illinois, right here in Springfield. My point is that it can happen. You've got to get the right people working on it. You got to have the right skill levels, and you've got to be willing to apply yourself. Now, people may ask, what if I don't have the skills to do this, to interact with government? Well, you can still participate by working with people that maybe are a little bit more trained in that area than you are. And guess what? As you work with them, you develop that training. Most of us aren't born knowing exactly what to do. We got to learn it somewhere. Well, this is a great way to learn it. And anybody can walk in parades. We can make telephone calls from a script. We can stuff envelopes for a politician running for office. We can walk neighborhoods with them, handing out literature. And I tell you, when you work for a politician, that politician is going to work for you. And the only way for an organization to be truly effective is to have large enough numbers of people willing to work so that politicians start coming to you when they want to run for office. and they'll say, what can I do to get you to back me?